Some Eagles injury news to hit on this Saturday as A.J. Brown has popped up on the Eagles injury report with a hamstring injury. Will he play against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football in Week 2? If he can't, what does it mean for this Philadelphia offense? We're talking about that here on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of you out there are having a great Saturday and you're enjoying your weekends. Before we dive in, be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily updates and coverage of the Birds year-round. We'll be live on Monday night for a watch party. We did 300,000 views for Week 1. It's the best place to experience an Eagles game day, or in this case, game night, outside of being at the actual game, so be sure to tap in to our Eagles-Falcons watch party. As for this A.J. Brown injury, let's get into it here. Yesterday, the Eagles released their injury report, and it was a surprise to see A.J. Brown on there, a limited participant in practice on Friday because of a hamstring injury. Nick Sirianni talked about that ailment today as the Eagles had their final practice in the lead up to this game against Atlanta, and he said that A.J. Brown felt tightness in his hamstring and came up with that injury during Friday's practice, and as a precaution, the Eagles took him out and they limited him. Sirianni added that Philadelphia is going to see how things go here. They took some precautions with him, and they did the same on Saturday. Of note, A.J. Brown was not seen on the practice field during the limited media-attended portion of Saturday's practice. So I think that's somewhat notable, somewhat significant. If he cannot play, obviously it's a huge loss for Philadelphia. A.J. Brown has put together the best two-season stretch of any wide receiver in the history of this organization. He has such a great on-field kinship and camaraderie going with Jalen Hurts. They play buddy-buddy ball, and they've become just a fantastic quarterback-wide receiver tandem. Sirianni did say, though, that the trade acquisition, Jahan Dotson, would be ready to step into a bigger role if that's what it comes down to, and A.J. Brown can't give it a go, or if Philadelphia just wants to err on the side of caution here, given that this is a soft tissue injury, and if it were to get further injured, that would mean that A.J. Brown is out for an extended period of time. Against Green Bay, really didn't see much of Dotson. He didn't have a catch. Primarily, he was used as a motion man, so he wasn't really involved in the game plan, and look, that's fine, and that's what I said when the Eagles made this trade for Dotson. Is his stock down a little bit after being a first-round pick a couple of years ago? Yeah, maybe, but he has 12 touchdowns his first 2 years, and with this Philadelphia team, they gave up a third-round pick for him, but also they still have a third-round pick from the Miami Dolphins, and you're not asking Jahan Dotson to be a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2. He's the wide receiver 3 and weapon number 5 on this offense. So a lot of times you're not going to see Dotson highly involved in the pass game plan because the offense runs through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. But I talked about the importance of adding a wide receiver because if A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith were to get hurt, in this case, could happen against Atlanta, your wide receiver room is a little bit thin, and now you have the luxury of having Devontae Smith as your number 1 if Brown can't play, Jahan Dotson as your number 2, you feature Dallas Goedert a little bit more, and then you still have the dynamic one-of-one unique weapon that is Saquon Barkley. Sirianni also explained that Dotson has been working very, very hard since getting to Philadelphia, and while they still have to see some things go over the next couple of days as far as his involvement, what he can do, they want to see if he's confident that Dotson can play. He can step into a bigger role, but also Johnny Wilson and Britton Covey would also be ready, if they are called upon, to have an increased role in this Eagles game plan. And Sirianni did say something interesting about like the wide receiver 3 position, and this is something that he talked about earlier this offseason too, when he said that he was liking what he saw from the likes of Paris Campbell and John Ross. He said the wide receiver 3 position sometimes gets unfairly judged because he doesn't have the opportunities that other people get. I feel really good about Jahan Dotson. Sirianni added first-round pick. We traded for him. We feel really good about him. Smooth route runner, everything like that. I just think that sometimes that position is unfairly judged at times because they don't get the opportunities that the other guys are going to get. And then this offense, wide receiver 3, doesn't always get a lot of opportunities because A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are getting over 100 targets. Saquon Barkley's going to get carries. Dallas Goedert is one of the top all-around tight ends in the NFL. This move in bringing in Dotson was for a situation like this if Brown weren't able to play, where you have a legitimate wide receiver now instead of an unproven commodity like a Johnny Wilson or a Britton Covey who can step in to that larger role. And Dotson coming out of Penn State, I really liked him. At my previous job working for WNEP in Scranton, I covered Penn State football, and Dotson was a dynamic player for those Penn State teams when Sean Clifford was the quarterback and Will Levis was actually the backup, and he was a smooth route runner, had really good hands. What's interesting is that he led the Commanders in drop percentage last year. I just do think that there's a better player in there for Dotson. As far as this Eagles team going up against Atlanta, I think they can survive if they don't have A.J. Brown in this game. But of note, Atlanta does have a pretty good secondary. Now, their whole roster is a little bit top-heavy. Like, they have some really, really good players, but then they lack depth in certain areas. For instance, in the secondary, A.J. Terrell's a really good corner. Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates, that's their safety tandem, and they are ball-hawking safeties who have picked off a bunch of passes throughout their respective careers. After that, there's a little bit of a drop-off. So I still give Philadelphia the edge here, and they're 6.5-point favorites for a reason. They're a much better team than Atlanta. Kirk Cousins looks very limited coming off that torn Achilles, and I do think that the Birds can beat Atlanta if they do not have A.J. Brown. So some interesting stuff there on the Philadelphia Eagles injury front with A.J. He's been a pretty durable player for Philadelphia since that highway robbery of a trade made by Howie Roseman in 2022. He was fantastic last year, another all-pro season, and then he suffered that knee injury late and then wasn't able to play in that wild card game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Philadelphia certainly missed him in that game, and that's why I talked about the importance of adding a wide receiver, because the Eagles were in a spot last year when A.J. Brown got hurt where Devontae Smith is capable of being the number one. But are you kidding me? A washed, cooked, well past his prime, now not even with a team, Julio Jones was the wide receiver 2 for the Eagles in a playoff game? That's unacceptable. Now you have Jahan Dotson, Devontae Smith, Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey, and you're in a much better spot. And I would expect Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra to have a larger role in the pass game, and then you can use Saquon Barkley as the dual threat weapon that he is in the pass game and in the run game as well. So wanted to bring you some thoughts there on the A.J. Brown front. I'm just kicking it today, watching some college football. Not a fantastic slate, although the South Carolina LSU game starting to get pretty interesting. And then later, Colorado State. Looking forward to watching Dylan Raiola play for Nebraska under Matt Rule. I had the privilege of covering Rule when he turned around the Temple football program. And now Temple is the worst program in all of college football. Stan Drayton, not going to be there long. Make Temple football great again. Have some leadership within that athletic department and university. It's been lacking since I left. Did it coincide with me leaving the school? I'm kidding. But either way, make the football team better again. It has been an awful watch for Temple University football over the last few years. Anyway, end rant. A.J. Brown, hamstring injury. The thing with Philadelphia here, still have Sunday, deep into Monday until this game is played, so they'll have some time to monitor that A.J. Brown injury to that hamstring. This has been Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. More content to come on Sunday and Monday. Watch Party Monday night. Can't wait for it. See you then.